Tonight, investigators are looking into a body unearthed behind this park that was likely buried here for years. We're holding people in power accountable tonight because of a series of water main breaks over the past few days that left dozens of people in the town of Clarence living without water since Tuesday. It is still an active crime scene here in downtown Niagara Falls. We're also looking into what happened with the 198 itself. Steady rain here in West Seneca based on how drenched I am, but I'm not what you want to see. What you want to see is that rushing water. This is the intersection where the Erie County Sheriff's Office says that a child was pinned under a bus. These are just some of the items that community members have left on Main Street near where the accident happened, and really it's twice that amount if you include the makeshift vigil that's also across the street. Anywhere that there's just a little bit of shelter from the storm is where we're seeing abandoned cars like these. People are either parking just to get out of the snow for a little bit or just leaving their cars here entirely. One thing we've been talking about with our meteorologists is the fact that hauling the snow away is the only way to get it out of Buffalo. This was the #1 most complained about road based on the feedback we asked for you guys earlier today. Yikes. Because I could use this for Halloween for years to come.
Fantastic.
Like a full stormtrooper uniform, just in like a nice warm winter hoodie. Social media has been so important to this election, and we've already talked about the voter experience. Now I want to talk about the issues. So I asked you guys to write in, and we got a sampling of responses. As snow continues to fall, conditions are rapidly improving. The two most important things are knowing your own limitations when you take the trail and staying on the clearly marked path. Reporting live from Roosevelt Square, Erica Brecher, Channel 2 News. Your wallet could feel the effects of Hurricane Harvey. The price of gas could go up after the storm hits. And all week we've been sharing stories of how the community has come together in support of Officer Lehner. We've seen Western New Yorkers celebrating their good fortune by sharing it with those who have less. Every summer, thousands of Western New Yorkers take a ride through Buffalo that makes a life-saving difference. That fire ended up killing the defendant's best friend, who was only 14 years old. We have team coverage tonight with Storm Team 2's Kevin O'Connell tracking your forecast and Danny Spiewak looking at the cleanup efforts. Looking at a nice weekend. We were talking about good times to run, maybe some sunscreen for somebody like me. You can really just feel the emotion looking at that scene, knowing we're just 20 minutes from kickoff of that race. Still ahead this morning, Kevin is back with another look at your weekend forecast. As we go to break, here's another live look outside. Gorgeous day on the marina and Lake Erie. Going to be a hot one, though. We'll be right back.
The New York State Thruway Authority plans on changing the exchange rate for Canadian money used at tolls throughout the Thruway.
And that's important because, as we reported at 5 o'clock, the rate they have been using for a while means they're losing money on most tolls paid with Canadian currency. 2 on your side's Erica Brecher explains what's going on and how the cash-strapped authority responded when she pointed it out to them.
Earlier this week, we noticed the Thruway currency exchange rate is different from the market. The American-Canadian exchange rate is about 30%, where 1 Canadian dollar equals 70 American cents. But at the Thruway, the exchange is 20%, or 80 American cents.
Thanks. You too.
That's a great deal for anyone with Canadian currency, because ever since the Canadian dollar dipped below 80 American cents in 2014, the Thruway Authority has been losing money on every Canadian dollar that goes through tolls.
So on every dollar of Canadian, we lose 20 cents here.
On Thursday and Friday, we drove through toll booths to confirm the math. We blurred out the attendants' faces because we didn't have explicit permission to record them. When I called the Thruway Authority and asked why its exchange rate hasn't changed to meet the market, they told me they watch the market but can only change their rate periodically. After 2 days of questions from me, they responded saying they're now preparing to roll out a change. They said, based on recent changes in the value of the Canadian dollar, we are moving ahead to implement an adjustment to the discount rate. This increase will better reflect the current market conditions and allow for a fair exchange in areas closer to the Canadian border. That's a big deal because until then,
So it's only $4, okay?
Okay.
the Thruway Authority will continue to lose money as it has for about a year and a half.
In Canada, it's 31%. If you change an American dollar in Canada, you only get 69%.
We couldn't quantify an exact dollar amount, but you can imagine it's significant in an area with a lot of traffic and a lot of people with Canadian cash.
You can do the exchange, right?
Yeah, it's only worth $4.
That's okay. Thank you.
There's more. Not only does the Thruway lose money, but a clever commuter could actually make money so long as the Thruway maintains a 20% exchange rate. We paid our 15-cent toll with a Canadian $5. The Thruway said it was worth $4 American. Subtract the toll and we're left with $3.85 American. Now do the conversion back to Canadian and we get $5.50 Canadian, 50 cents more than we started with. So the Thruway rate has sat at 20% for a year and a half, again losing money for it a year and a half. I asked this week why it's so different from the market, and now suddenly we're told they'll be rolling out a change. As a reminder, this is an agency Channel 2 has done several reports on regarding financial problems.
All right, so, unbelievable. So, Erica, what does this mean for Canadian drivers who try to make bigger bills?
Well, technically it seems that the Thruway can't refuse them. The toll booth attendants will ask for a smaller bill so that the loss isn't as great. But technically it can be done, and that's why a clever commuter, you know, like you saw at the end of my report, could end up making money.
Our Erica Brecher packed her bags and traveled with one of the rescuers on their journey of hope.
I just can't imagine what would have happened to these thousands and thousands of animals had my husband not encouraged me to do this. Hi, April.
Founder Joy Turok says her crew has saved more than 11,000 dogs and cats since the rescue's inception in 2004. Joyful Rescues is a no-kill shelter in Cuba. They put their own time and money into recovery and finding homes.
We have so many wonderful volunteers that at a moment's notice, Katie and I can pick up the phone. We can get someone somewhere to grab a dog that needs help.
President of the board, Susan Buckman, is one of those volunteers. She's also Joyful Rescue's main transporter, meaning she, armed with a minivan and several cages, will drive wherever she's needed. That need is severe in Southern Virginia.
From Webster, it's about 11 and a half hours to get down there, and then 11 and a half back.
This is Grundy, Virginia. Built on a coal mining mountain, it is an impoverished community.
These are all looking for homes.
Not for lack of love, but for lack of money. Pets were put on the back burner as poverty rose. Buchanan County Humane Society President Stephanie Smith had crisis on her hands, with too many dogs filling up a town shelter that had high euthanasia rates.
So I put a plea out on Facebook and met a representative from Joyful Rescue named Susan Buckman. And we decided that it would be a great idea to try to move dogs from their high kill shelter to their no kill shelter in the north.
And that's where this unique story truly begins. Susan packed up the minivan and has not looked back since. This time, I went along for the ride to find out why she puts in this tremendous amount of time.
You're going to be able to answer that question tomorrow when you're at the vet's office looking into the eyes of these little dogs that would have been euthanized if you didn't come down on this trip to save them. That's why we do it. We do it to save lives.
So after driving all yesterday and another 2.5 hours this morning, we have now arrived in Grundy.
We're here.
And it's time to head to the shelter. Smith says the unwanted dog population became a crisis.
When we were adopting back out into our community, occasionally we would get the dog back with a litter of puppies. The coal industry is our main source of revenue, and the coal industry has suffered in the past few years. And so our economy is very bad, and people don't tend to put a priority on getting an animal spayed or neutered when they're trying to put groceries in their refrigerators.
Dr. Raznick is an essential part of improving this problem. At a discount to both the shelter and Joyful Rescues, she vaccinates and spays and neuters every animal that comes through this unique system.
And anything our clinic can do to help get those animals a better life, we're all in.
She and her team stay late most Fridays to get the job done before Susan has to return to New York.
It's very rewarding for us, it's rewarding for the dogs, it's a win-win.
We've worked out this system like a well-oiled machine.
It's just a rough time for people in this community, and there's just simply more animals than there are homes.
It's about 5:30 in the morning right now, and this is the final step here in Grundy, Virginia. The van is almost loaded up, and our next step is to take them back to New York.
On this trip, Joyful Rescues is getting 17 new dogs. They are the lucky ones.
They get to know what it is to be loved before they die and to love a human before they die.
Are you ready? I'm ready.
The most rewarding part is when you get back to Joyful Rescues and you unload them and you know they are not going to die. They're going to be okay. We're going to find them forever homes. That's why we do this.
Doing rescue, I have never seen an organization like Joyful Rescue reach out to a small little bunch of people in a small little coal mining town.
Joy has a saying to help keep spirits up, because undoubtedly she and the volunteers will have tough days.
It's no matter what happens or what goes wrong, I say, okay, you know, we just deep breath, on we go.
And that attitude is essential because their work shows that there are so many more lives still to save.